The Epstein files name some of the world's most powerful billionaires. Combined, these individuals are worth $1.27 trillion. That's the scale of wealth and power now tied to the Epstein scandal. Let's examine who they are, how they made their money, and what their connections to Epstein reveal about how the ultra-wealthy operate. Bill Gates is worth $124 billion. He co-founded Microsoft and launched the Gates Foundation, the world's biggest philanthropy. According to the Epstein files, Gates and Epstein had several meals together. The files show Epstein was friendly with multiple people in Gates's network. There are discussions of scheduled meetings between Gates and Epstein on specific dates. It isn't clear if all of these meetings actually took place. Photos show Gates attending events with Epstein. When asked about this, a Gates spokesperson said the claims are absolutely absurd and completely false. But Gates himself acknowledged the relationship. He said every minute he spent with Epstein, he regrets and apologizes for. Les Wexner is worth $8.8 billion. He founded Bath & Body Works and acquired Victoria's Secret and Abercrombie & Fitch. Wexner seeded Epstein's vast wealth. He hired Epstein as his money manager and granted him power of attorney over his finances for 16 years. Think about that. Wexner gave Epstein complete control of his finances for 16 years. That's extraordinary access and trust. Wexner actually previously owned Epstein's notorious New York City mansion on the Upper East Side. He transferred the house, worth $77 million, to Epstein for $1. Wexner later cut ties with Epstein and claimed Epstein stole $46 million from him. In a letter, Wexner said, "I'm embarrassed that, like so many others, I was deceived by Mr. Epstein." But the question remains. Why did a billionaire give another person 16 years of complete control over his finances? What did that relationship actually entail? Leon Black is worth $13.3 billion. He co-founded Apollo Global Management. Black paid Epstein $158 million for financial advice over many years. This was after Epstein's 2008 conviction for procuring a minor for prostitution. That's the critical detail. Epstein was a convicted sex offender. He wasn't a lawyer. He wasn't a certified accountant. Yet Black paid him $158 million for financial advice. Black later called the relationship a horrible mistake. But the question is, what was he receiving for that money? What services was a convicted sex offender providing that justified $158 million? Donald Trump is estimated to be worth $6.2 billion due to his cryptocurrency ventures, his Truth Social platform, and branded product royalties. Most of the emails in the latest release of the Epstein files are unverified tips the public sent to the FBI about Trump's relationship with Epstein. But from previous releases, we can track their relationship back to the 1990s and early 2000s. Flight logs show Trump flew on Epstein's plane multiple times. Photos show Epstein attending events at Mar-a-Lago in 1992 and 2000. Trump has said the relationship soured years ago. He claims he had no knowledge of Epstein's sex crimes. But the question is, how does a relationship develop where someone flies on another person's plane, attends their events, and is photographed together multiple times without knowing what they do? Richard Branson is worth $2.8 billion. He founded the Virgin Group, which includes Virgin Atlantic and Virgin Galactic, his space tourism company. His name appears hundreds of times in the Epstein files. In one email, he joked about Epstein bringing a harem. Virgin later clarified this referred to Epstein's adult staff. Photos show Epstein visiting Branson's private island in the Caribbean. A spokesperson for Branson said if he had known the full facts, he would never have become involved with Epstein. But the question is, what facts was he missing? The sex trafficking operation was documented and discussed. How involved do you have to be not to know? Sergey Brin is worth over $255 billion. He co-founded Google. He communicated with Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's longtime associate, starting in 2003. The files include reports from people saying Brin visited Epstein's island multiple times. Photos show him at a dinner for billionaires put on by the Epstein-funded Edge Foundation. Epstein attended these dinners. Brin has not publicly commented on the documents. but the evidence suggests sustained involvement and connection. Steve Tisch is worth $1.6 billion. He's a film producer and co-owner of the New York Giants. Emails show Epstein introducing Tisch to women and exchanging explicit commentary. Tisch said they had a brief association where they exchanged emails about adult women and discussed movies, philanthropy, and investments. But why would a billionaire need Epstein to introduce him to women? What was the nature of these introductions? What did Epstein provide that a billionaire couldn't provide for himself? Elon Musk is worth $825 billion, making him the richest person on Earth. In the latest release of files, he's seen emailing Epstein in 2012 and 2013. In one email, Musk asked what day or night would be the wildest party on Epstein's island. Musk's spokesperson said he's well aware that email correspondence could be misinterpreted and used to smear his name. But the question is, what about that email could be misinterpreted? He explicitly asked about the wildest party on the island. It doesn't appear Musk actually visited the island. But why was he asking? What was he seeking? Mortimer Zuckerman is worth $2.8 billion. He co-founded one of the largest real estate investment trusts in America and owns U.S. News and World Report. Emails show Epstein was in talks to work for Zuckerman as a financial planner. It isn't clear if they reached an agreement. Aranda Rothschild is worth $1.4 billion. She runs a major Swiss private bank and is part of the Rothschild family banking dynasty. She emailed back and forth with Epstein for years, setting up calls and meetings. Epstein offered financial advice to her firm. A Rothschild spokesperson said she unequivocally condemns Epstein's crimes. But the sustained communication over years raises questions about what the nature of the relationship actually was. Howard Lutnick is worth $3.3 billion and is now U.S. Commerce Secretary. He exchanged emails with Epstein. Although Lutnick says he cut ties with Epstein in 2005, he invited Epstein to a Hillary Clinton fundraiser in 2015. Emails show he later had lunch with Epstein on his island with his wife and 4 children and nannies. A Commerce Department spokesperson said Lutnick had limited interactions with Epstein in the presence of his wife and has never been accused of wrongdoing. But the emails tell a different story. They document sustained contact over years. Peter Thiel is worth $26.3 billion. He co-founded PayPal. Emails show Epstein inviting Thiel to his private island in 2018. Thiel's spokesperson says he never went. Thiel later publicly criticized Epstein on a podcast. What emerges from examining these names and connections is a picture of an ecosystem. Wealthy individuals connected through financial relationships, introductions to other wealthy people, meetings on private islands, emails and communications over years. Epstein provided something to these billionaires: financial advice, access to other wealthy people, introduction to women, social connections, investment opportunities. Something made it worthwhile for them to maintain these relationships with a known sex trafficker. And that's the uncomfortable question. These aren't people who could claim ignorance. They're among the smartest, most informed people on Earth. They have intelligence networks. They have staff. They have information sources. Yet they maintained relationships with Epstein. They attended his events. They visited his island. They exchanged emails. They invited him to their gatherings. The scale of wealth and power implicated in the Epstein files is $1.27 trillion. That's the combined worth of these individuals. They represent the pinnacle of global wealth and influence. What their connections to Epstein reveal is that at that level of wealth, different rules seem to apply. Relationships that would be unacceptable in normal circumstances are maintained. Individuals with obvious moral failings are welcomed into exclusive circles. The normal boundaries of acceptable association dissolve. The question is whether that will change, whether these individuals will face consequences, whether future billionaires will make different choices, or whether the ecosystem that protected Epstein will simply evolve and continue. The American people are watching, and they're asking themselves what these connections mean, what they reveal about power and accountability, and whether the system will ever hold the ultra-wealthy to the same standards as everyone else. If you found this analysis helpful and want to understand the connections between wealth, power, and accountability, Please like and follow for more coverage of how these systems actually operate.